Welcome to the new Makerspace online workshop. This is the Fusion 360 intro workshop. It's lesson 1, and we're going to get into the intro of the space and also into shapes. If you need Fusion 360, we do have many stations available at Makerspace, but you can also download from free from Autodesk as long as you're a student, faculty, or staff, and the link will be on the website page. So, let's start here. We've opened up Fusion 360. We're in the design module. First, we're going to open up this data panel, and we're going to go and create a new project. It's always good to have a folder for your project. So I'm going to just do Makerspace intro. Just click that, and it's going to make that. I'm just going to close that side panel now, so we've got the full view here. And let's just save this right now, so we know where we are. We're going to save this to Fusion intro, and we want to put it in the right folder. So we've got to look for that folder. Makerspace workshops, and I'm going to save it. So we know we can find it. All the files are on a cloud with Fusion, so keep that in mind. You can work offline, but the minute you go online, it's going to go to the cloud. So let's just look at the interface to start. So up here, we're in the design area. If you click here, there's more interfaces that you can go to, but right now we're just going to stay in design. We've got this top toolbar up here, and we're going to be using a few of these. We're going to be using create and modify today. So create, there's various methods that you can make 3D objects, and it depends what you're comfortable with and what you're actually creating. So there's create with a sketch, there's create with a form, which is more for organics, and then we can also use geometric shapes. Over here, the modify area, this is after you've created some kind of shape, and this will modify the shape using various plugins here. We won't look at the rest of these today. So on your left here, we've got the title of our project, document settings, and you can click on that. You're going to see we're in inches. The reason I work in inches is actually because I use the Pocket NC, which likes to be in inches, and that's the only reason. You can change the units. If we want to just go way over to this side, you can see that's my name, and job status, and then extensions, and you can also make a new design here. I'm just going to click on my name, and then you can see preferences. So if we click on preferences, here it pops up, and this is going to say default units, and that's where you can change it, design, manufacturer. You can change it here to millimeters, centimeters, etc. So if you want to change it to centimeters or millimeters, go ahead and change it up in that top corner. Okay. So back over here, these are our name views. You can click on these, and it's going to actually go to our views. Can't see anything yet, so we'll go back to that. If you click on origin, this basically tells you where you are in space. Now let's go back up to the top right corner and click on this cube, the little home icon. That basically is giving us an isometric or three-quarter view of our object. So this is going to be basically the front or the back, and the left or the right, and this is the top or the bottom view. Now we can grab this cube and just rotate it, and we can rotate our object here. Now in 3D, it's good to know where your axes are, and we've got the y-axis is in green, we've got the x-axis in red, and we've got the z-axis in blue. So you can keep that in mind. Just going to close that. So now if you do click on these, you see you go to the top view, the right view, or the home view. So you can keep those open, but you can also just click over here too. I find using this cube is a little more intuitive. And then again, if you ever get lost, just click on the home icon. So let's go down to this area, the bottom area here. This is for panning, so you can actually click on this, grab your object and move it around. This is going to be zoom, so you can zoom in and out. And this is going to just make it fit. So your object's going to fit. We won't worry about these other two, the grids and that right now, but the last icon here is called viewports. So you can do multiple viewports, which a lot of people like to work in. I tend to work in just one viewport, the 3D, and just kind of move it around. But it's quite practical to use it with all 4 viewports too. So you can click on this again and just go to single view. Okay, so that's basically the interface. Now let's start to create something. We're going to work with shapes today. So go up to the Create module, and then down here we've got some your basic geometrics. So we've got box, cylinder, sphere, torus, coil, and pipe. Let's just start with a box. So depending on what plane you want to start on, I always like to start on the bottom plane. I'm just going to click on that, and all of a sudden you see a little X here. I'm just going to line up the X to the 0, 0 origin point, basically. I'm going to click it and to lock that point in, and then I'm just going to expand it. And you can see the numbers whichever way I pull this. So I want it around a 2-inch cube. I'm just going to do it about there. After you do that, this pops up. You can see that you can type in a number here, or you can actually pull this area. So this is the height of the cube, right? So as you're pulling, you see you can enter the numbers. You can do it freehand, depending on what you're building and how exact it has to be. But I'm going to just type in 2-inch. I can also grab this one now and type in 2-inch, and I can grab this one and type in 2-inch. And now I know I have a 2-inch block. Now, whenever you're creating an object, a pop-up menu or interface always pops up with it. And this is a way to combine and edit your objects. So for this operation, we're just going to stick to new body. I'm going to get into that these other things later. But for now, there's only one object, so we're just going to go new body, and we're going to go OK. So that's our cube. You can see in behind there the origin is still there. If that bothers you, which it does me, I'm just going to turn that off. You can turn things off at any time you want, up here on the top left. Now you see all of a sudden the body's menu item has come up, and you can see there's our body 1. So we can hide that and unhide it. But the thing I like to do right away, especially because there's usually going to be a lot of bodies and parts, is I'm going to double click on that, and I'm going to change that to cube. So now I know what that is when I have a list of things. So now if we go up to the top corner, I can rotate around this, move it around. Okay, let's create one more geometric shape here. Let's do a cylinder. So we're going to click on the cylinder. I'm just going to put it on the top. So I just put my X where I want it. Let's put it right there. I'm going to make it about that size. And as soon as I click the base of the cylinder, now it wants a height. So I'm just going to raise it up. I'm going to type in 1.5 inches. And now we can look at this submenu here, and you can see it says join. I want to join this. It will become a part, and that will be basically one part. However, you can go cut. Now, cut, it can't do anything yet because I want to go into it. You can see it turns red all of a sudden. That means it's cutting. Whenever you see red, it's cutting. And actually, when you usually create a new object, it automatically, if it's going into it, it will want to cut it. So, excuse me. We can change that now to join. You can also do intersect, which will just be an object where the two meet. You can do new body, which is going to be a separate piece, which means you can move the two separately. And we'll get into that later, why you may want to do that. But right now we're just going to go join. I'm going to go OK. And if you look at this, we still have only one body here. That's a cube. I'm going to do one more cylinder now. I'm going to put this one on the side this time. Except this time I'm going to go new body. Okay? Great. Now we have two cylinders. Now, I'm going to go up to the Modify panel. We use this a lot. If you want to move it, you can just click that. You're going to click the body, and you're going to move it. Now you see how the first block and cylinder move, but not the side cylinder, because I didn't join it. It's a separate body. I'm just going to cancel that. On the PC, you can also go Control Z if you ever want to undo what you just did. Now, I'm going to show you how to modify this right now. So, I like to use fillets quite a bit. And I'll show you what fillets are. You basically select a point. Well, let's start with the top. This basically gives a nice rounded edge. Now, you can do some crazy things with fillets like this. I always make it into a bullet here. But usually you're just trying to round the edges, because especially if you're 3D printing, there can be sharp edges. You want to round them a bit. Just say OK. You can also do it where objects meet and join. So I'm going to do it here. And sorry, we can just use the letter F for fillet. So I'm going to do that. Click F, and you can see how it's kind of the reverse of the top, because it's coving it. It's joining the two pieces together. This is really important in 3D printed objects because it actually adds a lot of strength to the print when you cove it. So I always like to cove it or fillet the joint. An interesting thing here, you see it's gone red, and down here we've got one error. This is really a great thing about Fusion 360. It will not let you do things that cannot be made in the real world. It's a solid modeling program. So this is great. So it tells you you've gone past the limits of it being able to do that. So that's a great thing, and it might be frustrating sometimes because you can't do what you want, but that just means it can actually be built that way. Now the other thing great about this, if I was machining this on our Pocket NC machine, our 5-axis machine, this is also great because it's going to have a real problem. I'm just going to cancel this. It's going to have a real problem doing that perpendicular area right there. In fact, I don't think it could do it, just because it can't get right in there. So with a fillet, it can get in there with the bit, especially if that bull nose is around the same size as your bit. So some of the reasons you do fillet, I also usually do it on the top edges. Again, I'm going to click F, click this, and again, you can do it by freehand, or you can just type it in here. I just do a tiny edge. Now, we were talking about this before. Now I'm going to show you a fillet here. If I go F for fillet, click on here, you see what's happening? Just going to do it a little less. There we go. I'm going to go OK. Now I'm going to go up to the move icon and click on that, and you see I haven't actually filleted the two objects together because they're not together. They're not the same object. So I've actually just domed the top. I'm just going to cancel that. I'm going to Control Z, and it's going to undo that. Also, I didn't show you this before, but that cube is now a new body. So, sorry, the cylinder is now a new body. So I'm just going to name that cylinder, and there we go. Now, I'm going to do one more thing here. I'm going to create a sphere. I'm going to click on the side here. And you can see it wants to cut it right away, so that's why it's red. So we could do join. It's going to add a sphere. By the way, it isn't literally, when you go join, it's not, there is not an indentation on the inside. If you go join, all you're actually creating is the exterior part of the sphere. Now, if I go cut, it's going to cut that shape out. And I could also do new body, and then it isn't indenting it, but it is creating a sphere. So I'm just going to go cut, say OK, and you can see it's made a cool little dish in the object here. The other thing you can do with modify is you can chamfer, which is more of a sharp edge to an object. Okay, again, I'm getting a warning because I've filleted these top edges, and a chamfer can't go around that corner here. If I change it to here, I'm just going to cancel chamfer. If I change it to here, now I can do a sharper edge. And you can see there it is there. Okay, so let's click on some of these now. You can see how this works. There's fit, there's zoom, so you can zoom in and out. There's the pan, and here's the viewports. So I'm going to change to multiple views, and then you can see all your views all at once. I'm going to change back to single view. I'm going to go back to the move copy icon. Now, so we've created this. I'm going to show you the really cool thing about Fusion now. We've created this, but if you look down here, this is actually your timeline of creation. And if you actually roll over the object, it tells you what it is. Now, the very cool thing about this is you can go backwards, and you can change some of this stuff. In fact, you don't even have to go like that. You can just click on this. So that's the sphere. That was the diameter. I'm going to change that to, let's see if I can do this, 1.8. It's a lot bigger. And now that it updates all the way along the timeline. So I can change any of these elements, any of the sizes, at any time I want. You can get into a few problems if you got something very complex. When you change something way back, you might have to tweak a few other dimensions and modifications. But it's pretty cool how you can go backwards as far back as you want. So that's it for now. That's our intro to Fusion and shapes. The next video we're going to get into creating objects from a sketch. Thanks for tuning in.